Hi, how are ya? What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. Today I'm taking the ZX-10R out towards Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to get it tuned. As you guys know, I've done a few things to it, and not everything you do to a sport bike really warrants a tune. However, changed the whole exhaust system, and I'm going to be doing a high flow air filter here today. So because of those modifications, I'm going to be getting a tune. We're going to be making more power, the bike is going to be running better, and it's going to be cool to see what this thing does on a dyno today. This is going to be a pretty long, boring highway ride, but after this, we have all day to ride, and it's going to be like riding a brand new bike at that point. Behind me, I have Dave. He's also riding his new motorcycle. It's a EBR. Hopefully this traffic lightens up a little bit too, man. So today I'm also using a new motovlogging setup. It's probably a little bit loud right now since we're doing like 70 on the highway, but I'm hoping it looks okay and sounds good as well, other than the wind noise. I have this whole setup and a new helmet. I'm hoping we can get out here on time. My appointment is at 10 o'clock in the morning and it is 9:15 right now. So we might have to tuck down a little bit and make up some time. This is probably going to be loud and boring for the rest of this ride out here. We got about an hour to go, so I will check in with you guys once we get to the performance shop. And here we are at Carnes Performance.
My fingers are tingly.
From vibrating. All right, so we got the bike in here loaded up on the dyno now. I'm just waiting for the guys to come out. We're gonna be doing a high flow air filter as well with this tune, so I'm not sure how they're gonna do it or what they're actually gonna do first. I'm assuming they'll do a poll, check a baseline, and then tune it from there. So looking forward to it. It's a pretty cool little shop, lined with moon mats up top. So this is the Dyno Tech Jason. Thanks for working on the bike, man. Can you explain what you're actually going to be taking a look at while you're doing polls here? I know you said air fuel ratios mainly and injector tables.
Yeah, what I adjust is the fuel tables in the ECU, and turning the injectors on D cell is probably the biggest thing to help.
So you're saying when you cut throttle a typical motorcycle that is not flashed or tuned, it's going to turn the injectors off. Correct. And give you that sort of like sputtery feeling.
Yeah, if you feel it whenever you're 35, 40 mile an hour and you start to get on the gas and there's a surge and you let off and there's a significant decel, that's the injectors turning off and turning back on.
Okay.
If you take the bike and you ride it to 10,000 RPM and you let it coast down, you'll feel them turn back on about between 32 and 4,200.
Feels like the bike like starts up again, basically.
It feels like it starts. It's like the kill switch was turned on.
Yeah, okay.
It's bizarre.
And you said that was one of the big benefits of doing an ECU flash over just like a power commander, because the power commander can't really fine-tune detail like a lot of the things like you're mentioning.
Right, and you can use a power commander as long as you get it flashed also.
Okay, so you have to okay.
You have to flash it no matter what to make it available to tune, because the power commander, whenever you close the throttle, it gets its power from the injector signal. So the power commander actually turns off until they turn themselves back on again, or you get back on the gas.
Okay. You're way more knowledgeable of this than I will ever be. That's awesome. right, guys, we are done. We picked up Dave's cousin. What's up? We ended up doing a few different pulls, a bunch of tuning, and we are now at 190 horsepower to the wheel on this thing. Haven't even turned it on yet, but this will be the first ride. We're gonna cruise over to the city, I believe, and get some lunch now. Not sure if I'll be able to tell a difference right away, but we will see. Idling is good. I'm ready to rock. Here we go. Well, it feels really smooth going the speed limit here. Man, that little excerpt that you guys saw there where he was talking about the injectors turning off, he basically like flashed out the restrictions that come in an ECU. That is one of the things that has changed, and I think, yeah, I feel like I already noticed a difference. A lot of times sport bikes like this have that sort of lug when you're coming down to a lower speed. Right here in these really low RPMs, it doesn't really matter, but the injectors are still firing, keeping this thing sort of running consistently. It doesn't turn them off and like cut out and then fire back up once we're in lower RPMs. It's just, man, very consistent. It already feels like it has a ton more power, and we're only doing 40 miles an hour. Oh shit, this is gonna be super fun once we get out onto an open road. Oh man. So like I've sort of been mentioning, I didn't do this to make more power. The whole reason I wanted to get the bike tuned was to have it running more properly, especially after I ripped off the exhaust system. I ended up not swapping out the air filter. Apparently, if you go with something even more high flow, it just messes with things a little bit too much. A K&N air filter is similar to stock, and you're really not going to see any power gains out of it, at least for a bike like this. So I ended up not putting the air filter in, and I'm just running the M4 Street Slayer exhaust with the tune now. Now the exhaust, one, I got it for that. It's a little bit louder. I like being heard, but at the same time, I also like shedding weight. So when you remove an exhaust system like this, I got rid of the whole muffler. In between the muffler and the cat is a servo, so I pulled out the entire servo and the servo motor, which is found underneath my seat, and then just past that is the catalytic converter. So it's technically a slip-on exhaust, but it's slipping on basically from like the headers and then into the mid-pipe right into the muffler that is on there now. So because I ripped off the cat, the servo, the muffler, and the actual servo motor and all the wires that come along with that, I shed about probably 12 pounds, maybe even more than that, by putting this exhaust on there. So it makes the bike a little bit more flickable. Obviously, you want a bike to be as light as possible because you're going to get better performance that way. So we get better sound, we get a whole lot of weight shed off, and now we're making more power because of that too. Dude, I can't wait to get this thing onto a highway. It doesn't have that like lug anymore. It's just like completely smooth all through the rev ranges. Well, here we are at the Pennsylvania Capitol building. Nice. Alright, now we're gonna get onto the highway. Going to test this thing out a little bit, and you guys probably won't be able to hear me too well. It's gonna get a little loud, but I'll make sure I slow down and give you an update on what I'm thinking. So far, the main thing that I'm noticing is that there's no like engine lug. When I let off the throttle, it is just extremely smooth now. It doesn't like lug down. I feel like it's gonna take me like this whole ride home to get used to how this thing feels now, because it definitely feels like a whole different bike. Fourth gear, 60, we'll roll on it here. Oh my god, dude. Woo! We gotta get out of this traffic though. One thing that I'm also noticing is that it is way smoother in between gear shifts, like right there going 5th to 6th. It's just seamless. Now the bike started with 174 horsepower today to the wheel, and that is with all of that stuff ripped off like I mentioned earlier. And then we added 16 more horsepower just with the tune. I don't remember the torque figures off the top of my head. I think we're at about 80 foot-pounds of torque right now. Here's a graphic of what the final results look like, and you can see the comparison from the baseline with just the exhaust, how the bike is, and then the entire tune. One thing that I notice is that if I'm in higher RPMs, accelerating, when I let off the throttle now, it's not backfiring quite as much, or at all actually. It's not backfiring at all. The bike was running really lean when I brought it in this morning, and there would be a bunch of pops and crackles, which sound cool, but that is evidence of a bike not running properly. So he messed with the ignition tables and all sorts of stuff that I am just not knowledgeable in, but the bike is feeling phenomenal now. I think this tune is actually going to be very evident in turns. Braking into the turns is one thing, and then you want smooth throttle to power yourself out of a turn. Oh, dude, the power delivery is just so smooth and strong now. In my first video of this bike, I kept talking about how smooth it was, and I didn't really think that you could make it any better, but here we are. I've had a bunch of different motorcycles and a few sport bikes over the years since I was 16 years old. All of them had exhaust systems, and not a single one was tuned properly. I believe my first bike had a Yoshi pipe and a power commander, but I highly doubt that thing was tuned properly, and with the power commander you're not going to get all the benefits like we've been talking about this whole video. So although I've only really gone like 20 miles so far, I highly recommend a professional ECU flash and tune. I absolutely recommend it, and I'm really looking forward to riding this bike a little bit more aggressively now. Oh my god, dude, even 6th gear, like doing 70 miles an hour, it just pulls. And I'm in lower RPMs too. I'm only at like 4,500-5,000 RPMs. Not only is there more power, it's just way smoother, and I don't know if linear is the proper word for it, but it just feels more direct. I think I can feel the torque in the lower RPMs. It's just, oh man, it really changes thing. Oh, thank you for moving out of the way. Oh my gosh, it's so smooth. Like, it's so much power, but the delivery is so smooth, even when we're in like a little bit of a corner like that. I think if I duck down, you guys can't really see over the windscreen. Probably just looking right at my key. Whoa, dude. Whoa. Dude, this is seriously game-changing. I can't believe more people don't properly tune their motorcycles. Granted, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. You're paying for the guy's time to be there and do it, so most shops are probably going to be like an hourly wage, but man, it is so worth it, especially if you've modified your bike in any way, like the exhaust system or the air intake. Now, another thing that I learned is that dynos are going to give different readouts depending on where they're at, and just different dyno machines in general. A dyno out in a place like, say, Las Vegas, where they're like at sea level, maybe even below sea level in some points, with little to no humidity, mostly zero humidity like all the time, you're going to get higher outputs. That being said though, a dyno like you saw the bike on earlier and another dyno at another shop right down the road, it's going to give a different output depending on how they have everything set up. When I was talking with Jason, he actually mentioned that he put his own GSX-R on the dyno, and around this time actually, he said July compared to dyno pulls in February, he sees about a 10 horsepower difference. So a lot of the readouts that you're getting is due to the temperature in the air as well as humidity. Someone tuning a motorcycle up at say 6,000 feet or whatever, like Denver, Colorado is, that bike is going to perform drastically different if you bring it down to sea level and vice versa. So there's a lot of factors that go into all these numbers, and it's just really cool how fine-tuned you can get these things to perform exactly how you want them. I would like to do like a 40-mile-an-hour roll next to Dave on his 1190, but there's too much traffic right now. So I guess I will save that for a future video. I want to give a big thanks to Jason from Carnes Performance. It was really awesome to hear all of his knowledge and watch him work. Thanks for letting me film and create this video while we were there in your shop. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned a little something. Hopefully this might motivate some of you to treat your motorcycle a little bit better. Treat it to a proper tune. Get that motor in between your legs running properly, and it's really a night and day difference. That's all for today. If you guys are new to the channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. And as always, thanks for watching. I will talk to you in the next one.